No.
I'm on the air.
Maybe.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to our brand new podcast, Bad Dinner Guests. I apologize right now for maybe some mess ups, but bear with us. This is our first time. All right, I'm Dejan. I'm your host, D Money, Mustard Boy, whatever you want to call me. My co-host, Mask Man over there. Introduce yourself, my friend.
I am Lou, and I cannot lie. I like big butts.
I'm Kevin. I didn't think of anything clever to say like Lou did, but yeah, so it's good to have you guys with us. Hopefully we're entertaining. I'll turn it back over to the boss.
All right. Now, I just want to forewarn everybody. This is not your father's radio, so if you get easily offended, I'm sorry. We're not here to hold your hand. So, with that being said, we're going to pop this story off with the rant. The rant is 2 minutes or less of us just to get anything off our chests. So, you know what? Lou, start us off.
I hate when video game movies don't live up to the video game.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got.
And there's such a history of it. Look at the Final Fantasies. Advent Children was pretty good, but The Spirits Within was so terrible. And so many of them get scrapped before they even get made.
Agreed. Video game movies are the worst. Have you seen Blood Rain? That stuff was horrible. Do yourself a favor. Don't watch it. I agree. Every Resident Evil, horrible besides the first one.
Max Payne.
Max Payne, that shouldn't even count. I
phenomenal.
can't believe they wasted the film on that. Horrible.
It was. And it was Marky Mark. And
Not even Marky Mark can save that. He's not The Rock, let's be honest.
right.
The Rock is the guy who saves dead franchises. All right, Kevin, go ahead.
All right, so I had a couple of different things that I really wanted to rant about, and then so I'm gonna just go ahead and start off with one. Actually, you know what? Can I time out? Can we restart? Like, can we just stop this and restart? Because I totally forgot what my rants were gonna be, and I'm drawing a blank, and so. I feel like we could just cancel this one and just restart. Is that cool with you?
That's fine.
Give me a chance to think of one.
That's fine.
Because I completely drew a blank, and the only one that I could think of was some research I did last night about everybody who failed at 9/11 getting a raise. But I don't really want to go like with that. I don't want to be like that guy right off the bat, Like, that's not what I want to rant about, and it got stuck in my head, so I wanted to figure out. And then I just kept getting Dejan's topics popping up in my head. And I was like, well, I can't say any of those. He's about to say all those. So I thought maybe we could take a second.
That's fine.
And I'll...
Don't think about tuna salad.
What the hell were my rants? I told them to you guys earlier.
You did. Something about...
You know what? We might even be able to keep this live. This is good stuff. It's actually non-scripted.
It's a free-form conversation, man.
All right.
It was something to do with the Heisman, right?
No, those are his. So yeah, see, it's his rant, and I can't think of what mine was. I'm completely drawn a blank on it.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna keep it going, and I'm gonna do my rant. All right. So what was it? At work yesterday, I learned about the dab. Had no idea what this dabbing is, and I found out it is a dance where you literally just sneeze in your arm. I don't know about you guys, but what is up with all these lingos, these on fleeks? I had to Google that the other day, honestly, to learn what on fleek was. Like, when did we stop speaking English? On point. Yeah, on point. I had to Google that.
And when did we stop saying on point?
I don't. On point, I thought was like what we said, but I guess now it's on fleek. All right. And Tinder. Why can't girls not have profiles that don't include some kids, a dog, or their food? I don't get it. I don't get it. It drives me crazy. Another one, Concussion. The new Will Smith movie, man. Who in the marketing world thought that was a good idea? They just sat there. Was like, you know what? Concussion. It's new. It's hip. Like, who thinks of this stuff? They couldn't think of a better name than that.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't. That's
obviously,
you know, that they spent probably a decent amount paying somebody to come up with that name.
Then again, it's not like they can call it the Junior Seau syndrome.
Well, you know what? What's even sadder about that though is, they did a PBS did a special on this very same thing on the report. You know, the op-ed piece that this doctor wrote, and that's probably much more informative than a Hollywood movie is going to be. That's going to be the only way anybody pays attention to it.
Exactly.
You had to put Alec Baldwin's haircut and Will Smith in front of the TV to get anybody to pay attention to this.
Right.
It's sad. Anyway,
it is. They own it day of the week.
You know, and the fact that they came up with a name like Concussion makes you wonder if it's going to even actually be that accurate or worth paying attention to anyway.
Is concussion going to cause the head trauma it seeks to prevent?
I don't understand Hollywood. They always figure out ways to ruin things, man. Like, I just think a PBS or a Netflix 30-minute special would have sufficed, and not thrown Will Smith and a whole bunch of throw up in Hollywood flashes and call it a movie. I don't know.
Well,
drives me crazy.
It's probably a favor he had to do for somebody because of Jaden Smith being in a movie or something.
No, right. So while we're on the topic of football, I just want to throw out there, the first point is about the Heisman Trophy ceremony that happened over the weekend. And as we all know, Derrick Henry, running back from Alabama, took home the trophy in a landslide with Christian McCaffrey coming in second and Deshaun Watson coming in third. And the one thing I can't gloss over or get out of my head is, yes, all three of those guys who were there are very deserving. Is the quarterback from Navy, Keenan Reynolds. Now, the Heisman committee, they preach excellence on and off the field. And I can't think of anyone who literally fits that mold better than Keenan Reynolds. And it's not just, oh, he's in the Navy, let's throw him in there for a charity case. No, this guy put up stats. He had over 30 touchdowns, 1,000 passing yards, 1,000 rushing yards, and he led Navy to a 10-win season. Yeah, and if they beat Pittsburgh in the Military Bowl, they will win 11 games for the first time in Navy history. And I don't understand how you cannot at least invite that guy to the Heisman trophies. I don't understand. It blows my mind.
Geez, man. If you were to do that in NCAA, you know, the
old video game.
Yeah, the old video game. May it rest in dust. You would have been if you had those kind of stats, you'd have been a shoo-in.
Right.
For the Heisman Trophy, even if you played for a team like Hawaii.
Right.
And what I don't get is I understand that they base the number of invites based on how well you did in the voting. But, you know, we talked about this before, and I just thought, I don't understand why there couldn't have been a fourth person. And if there was going to be a fourth person, it doesn't matter if everyone knows he's not going to win. You know, it just to have somebody who you could make the statistical argument that he deserves to be there. You know, and like you mentioned, to do something like that at Navy that runs the option, you know, for a quarterback to have that kind of an impact and get them a top 25 ranking, you know, he deserved to be there. So even if he didn't have a chance to win, why not just let him go? Kobe Bryant's going to play in the All-Star game this year. He won't deserve to be there, but he'll be there. And he'll be taking someone else's spot. Because he sells tickets. This wasn't even taking someone else's spot. This was, we were only going to have 3. But now we're going to have 4. Like, if that was the case, why'd Brady Quinn get invited to the Heisman Trophy back in the day?
Well,
I'm an Oregon fan. He deserved to be there.
Does that beg the question, like you were telling me earlier, is the Heisman Trophy irrelevant these days?
Well, I mean, yeah. I have a fun little trivia question for you guys that will kind of put my argument, I think, it will kind of prove it. Can either of you name for me the last Heisman Trophy winner to actually win a Super Bowl?
No, I cannot. But I may interject.
I can get. Okay, go ahead.
With us going to the playoff berth for the main title, it should be the MVP of that game.
Well, that's a completely different thing. I mean, you can have the player of the game, like an MVP for the national championship, or if you want to do it for the playoffs. But so if you want a hint for the trivia question, I will tell you that actually the last two Heisman Trophy winners to win a Super Bowl did so for the same team, but not at the same time. And hint number 2 is that neither of actually the last 3 Heisman winners to go to the Super Bowl and win, neither of them have been quarterbacks. So that narrows it down for you a little bit.
The only person I can think of is maybe Reggie Bush with the New Orleans Saints. Am I close?
No, actually, according to my research, the answer was Charles Woodson.
Charles Woodson.
Followed by Desmond Howard. They both got their Super Bowls with the Packers. And then the next one in line, you went all the way back to Marcus Allen.
And those names are so obscure.
So, other than
that trivia, yeah.
You want to hear some obscure names. Let me pull up for you guys the list of the Heisman Trophy winners over the last about 20 or so years. And then this is, again, towards my argument, because to answer your question, DeJohn, I think that, yes, it is, an outdated and pretty much pointless award at this point.
Okay.
Because when you look at it, most of these guys aren't making an impact on the field. When there's the history, you mentioned this earlier, we were talking today, the Heisman curse of when the Heisman Trophy winner ends up playing in the national title game, they don't very often win that game.
Right.
And then you look at the pros based on the stat, the little trivia piece I just gave you, and
there's a Heisman winner every year.
Once the page decides to load, you'll see the list of names, and you'll go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, if I could be cynical, the Heisman Trophy. A lot of people will say, well, that has nothing to do with how they perform in the NFL. This is a college trophy. So, the Heisman is one of the most acclaimed trophies in all of sports. But I do agree how you say that, yes, it is coming. It's irrelevant to, the Heisman Trophy doesn't necessarily mean success in the next level. But at the same at the same time, it seems like literally the Heisman Trophy is the best player on one of the better teams instead of being the best or the most important player to their team, because without Keenan Reynolds, Navy's Akron, Kent.
Yeah. And when you look at Stanford's Montgomery, I mean, the stats that he put up with it being in so many different ways, we have never seen a season like that. Probably won't.
It's McCaffrey.
McCaffrey, my bad. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good.
But for instance, with it being the multi-purpose yards and the return yards, receiving, running, all that stuff, that had a much bigger impact. Derrick Henry got 90 carries in the last 2 games. That's more than some, and that's probably more than the running back at Texas Tech got all season.
Right.
I agree.
2 games. And
I agree.
And I think at this point it's just like the beauty pageant. Like, okay, so let me read you off some of the names, and obviously some of these are yet to be known. But again, like even you think back. Again, you can take away my NFL argument, I guess, for the sake of things. But I'm just going to read off the list of these names because I think it's entertaining. We've got Derrick Henry, Mariota, Jameis Winston, Johnny Manziel, of course, everybody's favorite. Robert Griffin III. Cam Newton, which is interesting to bring up because he and Carson Palmer both have a chance to be the next guy.
I hate you, Carson Palmer.
Yes, he does. And then you've got Mark Ingram, Sam Bradford, and then this is where it starts to get fun. Okay, so we've got Tim Tebow, Troy Smith. Yeah, Troy Smith, Matt Leinart, Jason White in 2000.
So pretty much since 2005, you have guys who like to throw hot tub parties and guys who go to Cambodia and circumcise little kids. Okay, carry on.
And we got Lou's favorite redhead, Carson Palmer, Eric Crouch. Chris Winkie, the oldest rookie in NFL history. I don't know if that's true, but he was like 28.
Yeah.
Ron Dane, who was pretty good, Ricky Williams, Charles Woodson, Danny Warfel, Eddie George, of course, Rasham Salam, Gina Torrietta, Charlie Ward, my favorite Heisman winner ever because he didn't even go on to play.
Charlie Ward for like the New York Knicks, their point guard, Charlie Ward.
Yep. Former Charlie Ward, who before he started at quarterback was the starting punter in his freshman year.
How do you go from winning the Heisman to punching a Heat player in the playoffs? Like, how does that happen?
He's also drafted by the Pirates. In my opinion, Charlie Ward is one of the best athletes of all time, which is just one of those things where he may have picked the wrong sport because he was kind of a career backup point guard in the NBA, but he won a Heisman as a quarterback at Florida. They credit him for inventing the run and shoot kind of shotgun offense, the no huddle. Bob Bowden and Charlie Ward. So anyway, it's some fun stuff. But that award used to back then. You look at the Charlie Wards and the Ricky Williams and those guys were dominant.
Right.
That award used to, really and I, you're listening to it. I'm listening to it on ESPN and talk radios. I didn't hear really a word about the Heisman at first when Leonard Fournette was putting up ridiculous numbers. There was some talk of it, and then I didn't hear about it until the Saturday of the Heisman, and I felt that was just because there was only one game on.
Yeah.
They needed something to talk about on the radio that day.
So the Heisman, over the years, it has evolved. And then also with college football just evolving, period, we go from, the BCS era to now this 4-team playoff format. And, 4 teams are definitely better than 2. It proved last year when Ohio State was the 4th seed and took home the trophy. If that didn't exist, then it would have been Florida State versus Alabama in another snoozer. But, with this new 4-team format, 4 teams have a chance to get in. But my question is, are the best teams in the 4-team playoff this year? Because, in my opinion, I feel that the 4 most deserving teams are in the playoffs, not the 4 best teams. Ohio State, in my opinion, is a top 4, maybe the best team in the country. They didn't show it until late against Michigan, but they deserve to be in this conversation. So you're telling me a team who lost to the number 3 team in the country by 3 points does not get a shot to play for the national championship?
Right.
Or Stanford, you're telling me that Stanford can't go and beat an Ohio State, a Michigan State, an Alabama, Clemson, or Oklahoma? Do you like 4? Do you like 8? Do you want a 64 like in March Madness basketball? How do you feel about that?
I don't know. March Madness would be kind of crazy.
I think that would be way too big. I think for the layout,
6 teams.
The biggest we could probably get would be 8. I think 8 would be great. Like you said, 6 would be
6
good.
would be like perfect.
If you want to provide a bye week incentive to the top 2. But if you think about it, even right now with the 4-team layout, what will they have? Something like 35 or 40 days in between. Like the coaches, I don't know if they're doing it this week, but last week the coaches were out recruiting because the kids just had a week off, which is great. But, maybe they don't necessarily need a bye week. So that's why I like the 8-team format, because I agree with you. I think if there were an 8-team format, that Ohio State would be that team that comes through, the supposed underdog. I think they're the best team in the country right now. I think they would win in an 8-team playoff. I am upset as a Notre Dame fan that my reward for my good season is having to play the angry best team in the nation. And we're going to just get stomped. And, I'd much rather see Ohio State be playing for something that matters.
I agree 100%. And they say that the committee is on conference champions, but one major conference gets left out every single year. So what, who dictates the better conference? And I believe with an 8-team playoff, it eliminates that bias, because what we see now is a team like Alabama, they are resting on the coattails of what the SEC did in they are still here. Ohio's loss in the whole entire format of the playoffs. Oklahoma lost to a 4-win Texas team. Alabama lost to a 9-3 Ole Miss team. Clemson obviously went undefeated, so they deserve to be there. And Michigan's 5-7 Nebraska team. So realistically, best loss out of all of them. But at the same time, though, they're not deserving. They had their shot and they blew it. So the 4 most deserving teams are in there. But if you're playing cynic, what about adding another game? Would that really be too much for kids to handle at 18, 19, 20 years old?
I think so. I mean, especially with the new pageantry of the playoff berth system. I mean, that's something that we got to get used to before. We got to let this settle down. I mean, this is only, the second year?
But,
this is the second year.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that for my part, I agree more with DeJean on I would like to see it worked out, one more week, as long as maybe it means getting rid of one non-conference game, because let's face it, most of these schools are scheduling FCS schools, right. And it's basically just a preseason game anyway. So would it really hurt the players to take Wofford off the schedule? And
right.
But they have a chance. But then they have a chance as the number 7 team to play the number 2 seed.
Whoa. Wofford deserves a chance to go and play against the big boys. You never know.
They deserve to, why can't Wofford play like in
I'm just kidding.
say in Illinois? Let them play the lower levels. Let them play Indiana,
Hawaii.
And then they can get.
Man, I've been really hating on Hawaii.
Yeah, you really have been hating on
Wofford. I'm pretty sure.
What happens to the next Boise State in this 4-team? We were talking about I know the next small conference team that ends up making a good legitimate run over a couple of years and gets recognized.
Bearcats.
What if let's just pretend that when Boise State played Oklahoma in a Fiesta Bowl that we were in a 4-team playoff system. At that, you're looking at a situation then where you have 2 power. Okay, what if Notre Dame made it in? Then you have 2 Power 5 schools out of the playoffs. Whereas if you have an 8-team conference, all Power 5 have a chance to be in, and you can handle any at-large business. So if you have a situation where, back when number 1 Michigan played number 2 Ohio State the last week of the year, and both of those teams deserved a chance to play for a national title, they would both get it. And they would both be in the top 8.
If I can interject, that's kind of the incentive to build a dynasty. Because, it's not like these teams can't advance and, win out of their divisions. Look how close to the Bearcats were to go in Big Ten.
And also, can I also just say the Big 12 needs to I don't care if it's 2 of the biggest cupcakes. I mean, they schedule cupcakes anyway. We just said this. I don't care who they find. They need 2 more teams. They need a conference championship. That will get rid of a lot of this extra debate. Make them play that extra game too. Because what if Oklahoma had lost their conference championship? Then that could have had some settling, because I agree with you. They lost to a team that Notre Dame beat by 35 points. They lost to a bad Texas team. They got hot at the right time, whereas Ohio State lost at the wrong time.
To a good team.
And I think one more game for Oklahoma would have actually probably had them potentially out of the top 4.
Well, and that's the other thing, too.
I agree.
Look at all the teams that already played 13-game seasons.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
I think the best way to do this is you have the Power 5 conference winners, and then you have 3 at-large teams. You cut down, like you said, one of your out-of-conference games, and then you have the power or the other, not the non-Power 5, the Boise States, the Army, Navy, BYU,
Notre Dame,
best of the Notre Dame, the Independents. The best team of those get their in, and then you have 2 at-larges, with the first round being on the home campuses of the higher seeded team. So could you imagine Ohio State going to Tuscaloosa for a playoff game? That would be intense. The money would be ridiculous.
That's going to be the argument, though, against that, is because if you do the 8 teams, they're going to want to keep the bowl games, I would imagine. and they're going to want to keep that money. So, but you could still do it based on geography, at least,
Well, after the home side,
tickets.
I think the best thing about keeping the bowl games is the fact that it still lets the kids who don't go to the big show to celebrate having a great year of football.
That's right, and definitely keep the bowls for everybody else. It's like the NIT in college basketball.
Oh,
you can keep the bowls, just have it be the first round is on home stadiums or the stadiums of the home team of the higher seed, and then after that go to your semifinal at the Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, all the bowls, Rice Bowl, Bowl. They can still keep the four, how they do it now, just add 4 more teams and then add the home sites. The only bad thing about that is the logistics would be a nightmare for fans and for the schools, because that's a lot of traveling. And then also with finals, I get the logistics would be a nightmare, but they got to figure it out somehow to get at least 8 teams in these playoffs.
This is a multi-million-dollar business, though. I mean, it could happen. It just, let's be honest. I mean, fan attendance probably wouldn't be what they want it to be.
I disagree. I think it will happen, and I think it's because of that reason that they know they can make more money. I mean, take for instance, like, we live in Columbus down here, so we see firsthand Ohio State's effect on the city. People not only, people come from out of town. Like it's a holiday thing. People will save up. People that never even went to this university will save money for a whole year to come down for the Ohio State game, or depends. Sometimes it depends on the year. This year it might have been the Michigan State game. I know you came down from Cleveland for the Michigan State. So people are going to come, and the bigger the game, the more they're willing to spend on that.
Oh, they would have no problem selling out home sites for playoff games.
Yeah, and then they'll make more money if they trade in one of those non-conference games where they allow some cupcake to come in and earn more money for that cupcake school.
Yeah.
I think they actually make more money, and that's why they'll make it happen.
I mean, could you imagine Oklahoma coming to Columbus in December for a playoff game? It'd be nuts.
Yeah, and and it's things like that. The whole city would benefit from a weekend of that. All the hotels downtown and everything. Yeah, I think it'd be great. I think it's going to happen. I think they just have to – they're going to let this play out for a couple of years. I will also say one last thing about this. I think we need to go back and implement the BCS, and by that I mean this. Let's get rid of the committee, and let's do this. If we're still only going to do 4, let's do it based off the computer. Let's not. These people keep flip-flopping. They change their mind.
I mean, the committee is
bring that back, or at least allow it to be a factor. At least have the poll and the BCS do what they used to do. Have the coaches poll, the AP poll, and the computer, and then have our final rankings or whatever. Have those based, and I still love the playoff system. I don't think the computer was screwing up that badly. No. It was just anytime you have to take over 100 teams down to 2, there's going to be some controversy.
Well, you'll have that anytime that
the committee was supposed to take the computer bias out.
But now they're just adding personal bias. There's not a straight system,
And it is so funny. For example, the SEC, they have 15 ranked teams or 10 ranked teams in the beginning of the season, and then they beat up on each other. But then you find out at the end of the season, none of those teams are really good. But at the time, a team like Alabama, they beat a ranked Mississippi State who's not good. They beat a ranked Florida team who's not good, all on the merit at the beginning of the season. So I believe they should just take out preseason polls in general. Just take out the preseason, the top, don't rank teams until the week 8 or whatever the committee goes until their first one.
That's a good idea. It's too much of a distraction.
And
I agree.
Yeah, it holds way too much weight. You'll have teams that are 2-2 in the top 25, and you're just sitting here thinking, just like he said, based on the fact they were a top 5 team, and you'll have an undefeated 4-0 team sitting on the outside looking in.
Oh yeah,
because they were underestimated. So yeah, I completely agree.
All right, cool. Well, we could talk about this forever.
Literally.
So now, the great debate.
Ooh.
All right. Keeping with that football theme, I know you guys have some debating to do.
Oh, yeah.
Go.
Oh, yeah. Well, so.
I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely. My team's better. So our argument today, as a Colts fan and Lou over here as a Bengals fan, is I truly believe that even though I have a worse record and there's a good chance my team will finish below 500, and his team is 10-3, I think I'm in a better position to be celebrating a playoff victory this year. And I want Lou to tell me either why I'm wrong or whatnot.
I think we're done.
Really?
I do.
Dang.
It sounds like he broke his thumb.
Is it really? Oh, so
it sounds like a fracture.
Oh, okay.
So, and his throwing hand.
So who's Andy Dalton's backup then?
McCarron.
AJ McCarron?
Yep.
Oh, you guys are done. You guys are done.
The myth and the legend.
We're done.
I'm sorry. That dude is ass, bro. I'm sorry.
He is.
But so I guess this debate has kind of lost its
fervor.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's if
at least AJ McCarron has a hot wife.
And even if Dalton plays out the rest of the season, I don't think he'll have the versatility in his hand.
Yeah.
Rim shot, pun fully intended.
Yeah, right.
And it's
that's so depressing.
Because
at least if Indianapolis doesn't make the playoffs, they go home to Indianapolis. Cincinnati, if they don't make the playoffs, they go to the Florida of Ohio. I'm just saying. Have you been to Cincinnati? It's dirty.
The deep south of the Midwest.
They call it shit so nasty.
No,
Cincinnati is more like it. Like that's. Have you been to Indy? Indy's a nice town, man. It's not a bad consolation prize. You go home to Indianapolis. Great town.
Right. It's clean.
Pretty much.
The beer hounds are champagne connoisseurs.
Yeah, and so I guess what I will say. So I was going to argue with you about, but since you're not putting up any fight, I guess I'll just say it so maybe if I say it enough times, I'll actually believe
I acquired new information.
Right.
Since last we talked about this.
That is true.
But I was because I was watching the post, 7:30 Fox game.
Yeah.
Wrap up, and I don't think he'll be back. I mean, I'm speaking as a fan that doesn't want to get my hopes up too much.
Right.
It'll be terribly disappointing.
It's supposed to be the great debate, Lou, not the great I give up.
Yeah, you can at least fake it for me, man. Like you could at least pretend hey, look, Andy Dalton will be healthy and he will play, and in that hypothetical scenario, that he will finally finally show up when the lights are turned on.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
And I'm going to turn around and say, hey, at 7-9, my team's going to have a home game, and you can't really count out Andrew Luck at home. And Mike Adams will finally be healthy, and
that's another loss we had today.
We'll have enough.
Tyler Eifert is out with a concussion day to day.
Oh yeah, I know all about that. I lost 2 fantasy playoff games. Look, so I finally made it. I made it to playoffs in 4 leagues. I got a bye in 2, and I lost twice today. Just got whooped.
Ooh.
Absolutely whooped. So really sad day. The Jags dropped 51 on my heart.
Ooh.
And Chuck Pagano, you want to hear this? So I'm not this
the
nuts.
Jaguars?
I'm not Chuck Pagano nuts. He, after the game, compared this loss to the 2006 Super Bowl team. He compared this Colts team that it's facing the same kind of challenges that the one that went on to win the Super Bowl did. And if he thinks, I don't know if that means he thinks they're going to the Super Bowl, but I am not drinking that Kool-Aid.
Reggie Wayne's not walking through that door, so a young Reggie Wayne's not walking through that door.
He might,
the reincarnation.
Maybe Reggie Wayne in a wheelchair now because he's old, but old.
Yeah, him in a walker out there on the slot. I mean, that's what Austin Collie was. He was just a walking rag doll.
Dominic Rhodes ain't walking through that door.
No.
Get Tony Dungy back.
Well, since Lou gave up, I have a debate for you, Kevin.
Yeah, all right.
We're gonna flip the script. We're gonna flip the script right here. And I believe the best billionaire, look, right now, Tony Stark, would hands down 100% beat Bruce Wayne in a fight.
Yeah, and there's no way that that's going to happen. Yeah, I completely disagree with you. We can have at least. I don't know if it'll be a good debate, but I'll argue with you.
Smart technology is better.
Yeah,
Thank you. And you know what? He created his own technology, not Morgan Freeman in the basement. Yeah. I'm just saying. So if he needs something on the fly, he can create it himself.
Okay. He rewires the things he already made to make other purposes happen.
But Batman would be better at using it. You know,
a grappling
is better in in the scenario. Tony Stark is better.
Good call, sir.
Tony Stark is better in the lab. I'll give you that. He's better at making stuff. But who has the martial arts training? Who trained with a guy who can't die and hand-to-hand combat?
So what is he going to do? He's going to punch Iron Man in the face?
I mean, if the dude can figure out a way to beat Superman, if he can knock out Superman with kryptonite gloves, how can he not come up with something? Okay, so
Tony Stark made a suit that could fight the Hulk.
Here's how you break down these arguments. Let's put them in a room where nobody has a suit, nobody has a gadget. Now who wins?
Okay, of course, Bruce Wayne hands down, but you can't take that away.
Okay, so that's my fight. So
getting him out of the suit is the thing. Try to get him out of the suit. You can't. He destroys Batman. The guy has no powers. Nothing. It's over.
Not to mention,
Tony Stark's not a detective though. Batman can figure out a way.
Hollowed out his bones with the extremist virus.
Okay, I give you Batman's a master strategist.
From his body.
Yeah, he's going to be the better strategist in the fight. He has more resources. Like, Tony has his computers, but Batman can fight that with Oracle. He's got Oracle in his ear. He's got sidekicks. Like, if you're telling me that I can't bring to the table that she still has her computer that she can search, you know, like I'm saying.
And Tony Stark has extremists.
War Machine. His War Machine.
His brain.
Not some flying circus guy.
He's not an overwhelming favorite to me. I think everything that Tony Stark has, you can argue that Batman didn't make it himself, but he still has it. If you're telling me that I can't win the argument by saying if you take the machines away, then you can't tell me that Tony wins because he built them himself, because they still have all the same things.
Right.
Batman could fly if he wanted to fly.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying he can counter everything Tony can do.
Well, what if he catches him without his shit? He's in an Iron Man suit. It's a fighter jet. Come on, man. It's no competition. And it's
a fighter jet. Fox can't build a fighter jet. He built a tank that can crawl on walls and a motorcycle that comes out of it.
We're not talking about putting Batman in a plane.
We're talking about Batman versus Iron Man.
You can make jet boots.
Oh, no. He did.
I'm saying you can find a Batman issue somewhere where Batman probably had some
Batman versus Superman.
Boom, there it is.
They were flying around, so fighting each other, and
so he can counter it. That's all I'm saying. He can counter. Iron Man's not the only one that can fly. If Batman needs to do that to fight him, he will have the same boots.
And Green Arrow shot Superman in the face, one-armed.
And there you go, bringing in.
I don't know. I think we're gonna keep on banging our head against the wall here, but I'm gonna stay with my opinion. Tony Stark hands down beats Batman.
Okay, maybe we can come to maybe we will just take it. Which of the two upcoming? Because we got Iron Man and we got Batman coming up within what we got March and May. I'm just saying if we can't come to terms, no one's gonna win this debate. This Iron Man Batman debate. Maybe someone can win over. No, but there's another. There's the Civil War coming out.
Yeah.
There's so Marvel or DC film world.
Yeah.
Which one are you guys more excited to see? I personally am just too big of a Batman nerd. Yeah. Okay. Deadpool. Yeah. Deadpool. I knew you'd pull that one out.
I got my Deadpool symbol on right here too. I'm gonna go with. Probably Civil War, because the first African American superhero is in this movie, Black Panther. I'm excited about that. And Ben Affleck playing Batman.
Can I give you guys my quick beef with Civil War? Why it really makes me mad? Like before I ever see it, I'm already mad at it. You want to hear?
Sure.
All right. So my problem with Civil War is, why isn't it just named Marvel Civil War or just Civil War? Why is it called Captain America Civil War? Because to me, that's telling you that it's a Captain America movie instead of an Iron Man movie, which kind of, to me, foreshadows who's going to win. It's like in that new Terminator when they showed you in the trailer that John Connor was a Terminator. Why wouldn't you save that? Why wouldn't you let that be just you find out in the movie? Why would you give away part of the plot in the trailer?
We'll see. In the past Civil War, this was a while ago, Civil War was an event in Marvel Comics that tore the universe apart, hero versus hero, and it started from hero registration.
The timeline. We used the same timeline for that, the Ultimate Alliance video game.
A school gets blown up.
The school gets blown up by wow.
The Uninvincibles or something like that.
Yep. But my thing is what if you had just named it Civil War, then it would have just been more open to side choosing and everything. Now I don't understand why it's
Captain America was the head of one of the factions.
Yeah, I know, but so is
Iron Man. I don't know.
Exactly.
They might have a rebuttal to that.
Maybe
that would be a surprise.
That would be the next Iron Man movie. You could be right. That was just my little beef with that.
All I gotta say is,
there's a long time until Infinity Wars, boys.
Batman vs Superman has Ben Affleck. Have you seen Gilly? I rest my case.
Well, also, I got beef with that too. Why in that trailer, in the new trailer?
Hey, don't talk shit about Ben Affleck. He'll try to fuck you in an uncomfortable place.
Hey, I was saying something. I was literally in the middle of saying something, and that made me really uncomfortable.
Kevin has the talking stick, Lou. Let him talk. Kevin has the talking stick.
I'm sorry.
The
Mallrats.
Piggy's got the conch, and it's my turn to talk.
Mallrats reference, man.
My beef with the Batman one is that they went ahead and showed the Wonder Woman come in, and they did the whole, is she with you? I thought she was with you. And then again, go ahead and give me the plot. Like, I already knew they were going to end up working together, but just like, stop ruining the plot in the trailer and let me just go. You're already making me pay $16 to see the damn thing. Will you at least let me experience it then?
For the first time.
And stop ruining plot points before I even go in to see the theater. And also, just don't even put Wonder Woman in it in the first place. I like it more, but that's just my personal opinion. That's it. That was it. And I didn't want to think about Ben Affleck in a room.
You spit on me. Seriously, man, you gotta stop talking shit about Ben Affleck. He will fuck you in an uncomfortable place.
Hey, he's a great director. I love his directing movies, but his acting, Reindeer Games, Geely, I can't, man. I can't. I love Ben Affleck, though. I do love Ben Affleck, just not as an actor. I like him as a director.
I think you love the idea of Ben Affleck.
Yeah, right. I do love the idea of Ben Affleck, but not as Batman. Who else is
He's all man pretty and right in the right places. Right. And then he opens his mouth and it's just a fucking train wreck.
Who else is
he only has... Huh?
I said, who else is going to do the Christian Bale voice? Where's the trigger?
I heard Christian Bale was supposed to be Daddy Warbucks in the new Annie reboot. But every time he said, Ernie, I'm your new daddy, the little girl peed herself.
Oh, my God. Oh. So, moving on. So, keeping on that theme of registration, I'm going to get a little bit serious here. There's a really, really big problem with gun violence going on in our country right now. And, you know, some people say that we should do gun control, and some people say that we shouldn't do gun control. You guys just leaving me here all alone?
I know you're debating Lou on this one. He's helping me out.
Kevin, while you're here, we can get your opinion on it.
I'm going to take my front row seat here in a second because I have really mixed feelings about the whole issue.
Yeah?
I do. I personally, so before I get out of your way, I guess I'll say that I just think it should maybe be a little more difficult as far as, like, you know, the background checks and the tests just to make, you know, but I don't think anything should be ever taken away. I think that if we at any point have citizens that aren't allowed to arm themselves, then that would be a greater has a greater potential for more of us to get hurt if, say, for instance, we should be invaded. Then hundreds or millions of people could die while waiting for the army or the police to get.
That was one of the first things Hitler did in Nazi Germany, is confiscate the guns of the citizens.
Yeah, and
so that way, if people even wanted to revolt against the government, they could.
Yeah, it's in the Constitution. It's there for a reason. That that's my opinion. Yeah, I have to stay out of this one a little bit because I don't want to look like a conspiracy nut. So I'm gonna let you two get at it and to tell your opinions, and I'm gonna go grab some coffee and maybe some popcorn.
No, it's not even that serious. I agree with you when you say that there should be a stricter registration for people to purchase a weapon, and I don't think that just taking guns away from people is the answer. But an example I like to point at is when I was in London recently, guns are banned in that city, or maybe in the entire country, and the police officers don't even carry weapons, and the gun violence is non-existent there. And the same with Australia after their gun ban. So, but at the same time, I think that we're in too deep in America to ever take guns away, that it would lessen the violence. But something has to be done about this, because it's the new norm that every other week there's a mass shooting. And, I'm afraid that I'm going to Walmart and some nut job's going to come and blow me away.
Well, and that's the sad reality of the world we live in. When it comes to our personal safety, we're responsible to it. That's, we're not children anymore. We're not in school. There's not somebody who's accountable for our well-being. And that's the best way to help with the accidental killings is education. And this one of the most recent ones in Colorado with the Planned Parenthood clinic, I believe it was. Did you hear about this man in court?
No, I just heard that.
Never been able to have them.
Right. Well, but here's the thing. It's so funny. I mean, I'm just going to jump off topic here, but tell me why, when a white man goes and blows away a bunch of people, it has to be mental instability. But if that guy was, let's say, Muslim, he'd be branded a terrorist. Or if he was black, he's a thug. I mean, why every time that a Caucasian goes off the rocks, has mental issues?
The bikers in Texas were all called thugs. That was some crazy shit.
Well, you said they were called what?
If you
didn't hear about that?
They had the giant shootout. I heard about the giant shootout.
Yeah, there was like 56 people involved, and it was like 2 or 3 rival biker gangs. It was intense.
Yeah, it was like Sons of Anarchy.
They were it really was. And those are thugs. I mean, that's.
So my honest opinion on the mental health thing is, whenever they don't have a good reason for it, they go ahead and use that. Because let's use. I'm using Sandy.
Look at all these people that were on Prozac when they went and did these things, and there were even black guys that were on Prozac that went out and shot people.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on Prozac and other pharmaceuticals and their negative effects, and how most of them actually, most of these shoes actually have connection to either being on them or having withdrawals from being off of those antidepressants.
I would like to propose a challenge to the two of you that keep it in your ear that every time you hear a new drug commercial for whatever, which is funny because it used to be pharmaceuticals could only, pander to doctors, but whatever, I digress. That's another conversation for another day. Try to listen to how many of those drugs that are advertised to you have suicidal thoughts or actions, death as a consequence, other mental instability. We can't throw pills at ourselves and expect it to just be a cure-all. We got to find the root.
Yeah.
We don't hear everything that goes around the world, but why are people killing other people at such a high rate in this country?
Drugs and money.
Is it drugs and money? Maybe the poverty has something to do with it, but maybe we're just inherently a violent country which may be true. I mean, this country was founded on violence. You know, the English came over and eviscerated the indigenous population, and you know that's how America was built. And it's just sad because, you know, this could be such. It's funny, you know, everybody here is afraid of ISIS. If I was ISIS, I would just sit back and watch America tear itself apart. Because the worst thing any other foreign country can do is let this country unite. Like after 9/11, this country united, and it was a great thing to see. You know, we were all old enough to remember about how united this country was. We weren't too worried about killing each other.
Passed one of the most oppressive laws in history. And started black op organizations that can spy on citizens without regards to our rights.
Well, and that's kind of towards the direction that I was going to. What Dejan said about the always bringing up the mental health thing. It gets brought up all the time, and I'm not going to go as far as saying that you know, any of these things are planned out. But I think whenever an opportunity is seen, and whenever an opportunity presents itself for them to be able to use this to push forth some sort of, like, for instance, with Sandy Hook in Connecticut now, if you want to homeschool your child, they have to pass basically an aptitude test.
And you have to pass a sanity test.
It's a sanity test, and then they also, you know, so that it's the back door to gun control. It is, you know, now you're making, you know, all these kids, if you don't want to go into a public school system, you know, you have to prove that you're not insane. Right. So I think that you know, in which another thing that scares me is, again, if you mentioned Hitler, that one thing he did was take away the guns. Another thing he did was fight sort of a war on the mentally handicapped as a way to try to. So anytime I see the mental illness getting brought up over and over again, I get a little bit worried that that's always just kind of used as a scapegoat. And again, that is going to lead to some sort of legislation that will hurt people that honestly just need some help. Right. Because there will be plenty of non-harmful people with, you know, mental problems that don't need to be locked up in an asylum for the rest of their lives. Welcome home sanitarium. You know, and not be able to allow, you know, to have at least productive life or some kind of a life. You know. Yeah.
Have you guys thought about this? I think it's in South America. They're starting to, instead of putting drug abusers in prison, they're putting them in rehab or like these help centers, and the drug problem is really starting to go down. And I think drugs and money have a lot to do with the violence and that goes on in this country with the poverty, and it just it drives me crazy.
You know, I know exactly where you're coming from, man. That's like, you know, you look at these kids that grew up and they had nothing, and they eventually turned to drugs. You know, crack doesn't let you down.
Yep.
You know, people let you down.
Right.
It's crack. Just need a little taste, baby.
Oh my God.
You know, and
we're not promoting drug use on this show.
No, we're not. We're actually talking about the tragedy. I mean,
getting back on topic to
that's the real heart of the dependency. That drug is something that they can count on.
Right.
Well, what I'll push it to is go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what I'll push it to is, you know, going to what you were saying about with the rehabilitation. That would be a great idea, and it's exactly what we should do. But unfortunately, the prison system is privatized, and repeat offenders and repeat prisoners are good for business. And so having, you know, little drug misdemeanors keep people in prison longer and make it to where they're now felons and they can't vote and their opinion doesn't matter and they can't go out and get a real job. And so all that they can do
is either be a criminal or work at McDonald's.
Continue to be a criminal, or work at the lowest level of the system that will generate other people money. That's the problem. You know, if you don't make any more money off of them if you rehabilitate them and send them out in the world to go do something good, you only make more money off them if you keep them down. And I think that's the indicative of, you know, one of the bigger problems that we have here.
Yeah.
You know, spend that money on education, and you'd have and nicer living environments, and you'd have fewer people in the prisons.
Right.
But then again, then that just means that money's
going
somewhere else. I think it's
Sweden. In Sweden, prisons are pretty much they're not like prisons here. It's total opposite. Like they're almost like campuses. And like you're confined to your cell for so many hours, and then like you have like free time, and
Right.
then like there might be a structure or something.
Well, yeah.
You know, they've been seeing. It's been a while since I've seen the show, but they were having something like a 3 to 5 non-return rate,
Okay.
or it was something along those lines.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
you know,
Makes
all
sense.
Right.
I say all this talk is all good and plenty, you know, and the thing is, our country that makes too much sense for us. I mean, this is the same country who the Republican candidate who's leading right now is Donald Trump. Don't even get me started on that clown.
Yeah.
If he's our president, I'm
There's
going
only-
to Canada.
There is one thing. There's one thing that he said that I liked, and it was that the lowest income tax bracket should be erased, and that the lowest bracket like doesn't owe taxes. Literally, the only thing of value that man has said.
And you know what? He actually said that. I'd have to say that.
He did. He did. He
I'd say
did.
that.
And that's the only thing that I like that he said, and that's not enough to make me vote for him. I'm Bernie, man.
I am very tempted, as much as this sounds like a cop-out, and I know it's not a solution, I'm very tempted to not vote at all because I feel like it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's two sides of the same coin. I feel like there's not going to become much. The system is the problem, not the individuals inside the system. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have a solution, but until more people are willingly accept that there is a problem.
Smarter people in.
Yeah, but at the same time, we need to just be able to know that we can trust what's being told to us about those people. You know, so like the whole media system, all the journalisms, you know,
who's being run by the Bilderbergs.
Yeah, exactly. Who can you trust? Everybody, you know, the people that pay for your news are the people that are.
How many pharmaceuticals contributed to your ad campaign?
Right.
Yeah.
So pretty much you're telling me you're going to take the lead of the people of North Carolina and vote for D's Nuts.
Yeah.
No, because D's Nuts has endorsed Bernie Sanders now, so that means that's a vote for Bernie.
Oh. D's Nuts Bernie.
D's Nuts have
Yeah.
I like that.
Sanders.
So, you know, because I try to view everything from all angles, I watch a lot of conspiracy theory videos that have some odd points to them. I actually watched one last night that was trying to suggest that Bernie Sanders was actually an Illuminati puppet, so that had some interesting points. So, yeah, again, we can save that for some different time, but, you know, there are always so many interesting theories out there.
That's some tall britches talk.
They're really, really fun to look into. I say fun.
Mhm.
That's the wrong word to use, but it's interesting in a world where you don't know anything. You know, anything's possible.
Right. Everything's a lie.
But yeah, so basically,
Nothing is true. Everything's permitted.
We have no winners to any debate because this debate just turned into like a whole.
Right.
And it's all my fault.
This is enough politics for me for one day.
Huh?
So this is enough politics for me for one day. So we can go back to a lighter subject. Women.
Fair enough.
If I could have any wish, I would wish for a taco that doesn't run out of nacho cheese.
That's really a waste of a wish, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd love to have that debate on how
I wasted a wish.
Yeah.
That is a wasted wish. You know what a better wish is, Lou?
What's that?
If I had a wish, I would be able to summon Stone Cold Steve Austin to go and stunner any one of my choosing. He just appears, runs down, and just stunners them with the music going everywhere. Like, could you imagine being at like the BMV and like that person with the crying baby who won't shut the baby up, and you just say, Stone Cold, that person deserves a stunner, and then all I hear is he runs down and just stunners and starts giving her middle fingers and calling beer, and like I get to drink beer with them. Come on, man. Great, that'd be fantastic.
So my wish, if I had one, would probably be to go back in time to 1996 and go on a date with Sharon Stone.
Okay.
I'm just saying, you guys all did a wish. That's my wish.
I mean,
well, we're gonna go back in time.
That's a pretty solid wish.
Have you seen Sharon Stone movies in the 90s? Like, come on, man.
I saw Basic Instinct.
I have that. I saw the taco. You're just wishing for a different taco.
Wait, what kind of taco are we talking about? Are you talking about food taco or the
He
other
was talking
taco?
about fish taco.
No, he was talking about your endless cheese. Your
I brought it full circle.
Cool, man. Cool. So, speaking of Sharon Stone, man. All right, I was on Tinder. I'm a Tinder. I'm not even gonna lie. And
I had it for a week.
I don't know if it's an Ohio thing or Midwest thing or just a girl thing, but why does everybody seem so basic on these dating websites? It's like pictures of their dog, their cat, them partying with their girls. You have to go play, Where's Waldo and try to pick them out of like 17 pictures of them and their friends, or their food. I just don't understand what is going on. Why is everybody so basic these days, man?
And if they're in a different country, it's Canada.
Well, I think my answer to your question is a simple one. It's that we are all liars. Yeah. Every single person on Tinder, at least, probably is lying. Yeah. Just keep it basic, keep it simple. Like I said, I only had it for a week. I couldn't tell you how many.
How many bitches sell the pussy on Tinder?
I love music, or concerts are fun. Or I love my cat, I love my dog, and it's just like, I get it. Like, you don't want to
they're bots.
Say too much about yourself. I don't think I said anything about myself at all on my
I go to the Starbucks at the corner of Broad and James every day at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m.
I just realized that the kind of people, like you said, the kind of girls that are on Tinder that are just going to say, I like my cat and dancing and dogs and wine, that they're not going to be my type of person. I understand that, absolutely. So... Right. Yeah, so I feel your pain, man. I think that you might be fishing in an empty well there or something. I don't know.
I kind of wish we had a female right now with us to counteract my point, because we don't want to seem like a bunch of chauvinists, but that's just our opinion.
Well, and also I'm sure, and I'm not saying it.
I think it's a little bit more misogynistic at this point.
It works.
Yeah, misogynistic, chauvinistic.
Nah, because we called them bitches, and I said sell the pussy.
We didn't do any of that.
We didn't do that. You did
that.
Don't put me in with that.
Yeah, don't lump me in that. I'm not with you.
I'm on cold medicine.
Yeah, that's
I am.
Maybe with this Tinder, the whole dating game scene has just seemed to go downhill with the popularity of cell phones. Like, no one can talk to one another anymore. It's funny. I went to a bar and I saw a group of 5 girls all together, and they were literally just sitting at the bar all texting for 5 straight minutes. And I'm just, what happened to human interaction? I think technology with cell phones is killing human interaction, even in the dating game, where it's, you get on Tinder, you want to hook up? Sure, let's hook up, and then you don't talk to each other anymore. Like, it's the dating game is starting to go downhill as well.
Secret. And you might have caught herpes.
I don't know how secret it is.
Right, but you see what I'm saying? Well, especially that ties into your Facebook app.
Yeah. It's rough.
That actually reminds me of this great quote I saw earlier. You will live to see man-made horrors beyond your comprehension. Tesla. And I think that's kind of one of them. I mean, technology is a dual-wielded sword that how can we be so connected to people when we don't connect to people?
I agree. It's funny, like, people on Facebook, they seem like they're so popular to have no friends, but in reality, they're probably some of the loneliest people out there.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. You've never been so close to people, being able to connect with them, but you've never seen so far.
So far, yeah.
Well, again, and it's all fake. It's just like, for instance, on a first date, you can never know, what you actually feel about a person on a first date, because neither of you is being honest. You're presenting your best self. You're not doing what you normally do. But it's kind of like the same thing with Facebook. You're going to do what you can to present your best self. Whether it's, puff out your chest, have a little bravado, or for some people it's, venting a little bit more, or posting pictures that they think are saying things about themselves,
right.
Stuff like that. And so, you're never really yourself. You're just kind of constantly. It's like the Truman Show. It's like we all live in the Truman Show, and everybody's just like
everybody's Truman.
You know, but they all realize it, and they're putting on a show for likes and comments and shares, and all this stuff. Like I've never understood people's needs to share like really, really deep personal things on Facebook, as far as like, you know, when you're having a really, really bad day and you want to share it, like really, like that you want, what do you want to get 20 likes out of how bad of a day you're having?
Right. And then why are there likes?
Someone you care about is going into the hospital for surgery, and like, so your first thought is to tell your 600 Facebook friends.
Right.
Like that's what you do now. It's like you're not. That's what you're sitting out in the lobby, and someone you love more than anything is potentially dying, and you're
more concerned about your Facebook status.
You know, I understand if you want to use that phone and text your loved ones, but it's like you really like you need attention. You somebody, and I'm not saying that that's what everybody's doing it for, or that they're consciously saying like, oh yeah, this is about me. Like they're just maybe venting, and that's the way they vent. But to me, it just like it just sits wrong with me a little bit that we all have this need to kind of have our 15 minutes of fame all the time now because of Facebook and social media. I'm not innocent of it. I'm not trying to sit here and say that I am, but
I mean, we're all guilty.
The first step is admitting it, right? We can't fix the problem if we don't admit there is one.
Right. But at the same time, though, it's the excessive use of it is what drives me crazy. Where we go out with certain friends, and they're balls deep in their phone the whole time. I'm like, why don't you just go home? Why do you even come out if you're going to be on your phone the whole time? That drives me crazy. It's my biggest pet peeve.
Snapchat drives me nuts. Why do you need to record everything that you're doing? Like, you know what would help you remember this moment if you were actually paying attention to what you were doing? I understand you want to record a couple of things so you remember it, cool, but you spend the entire time recording it. You're going to have to watch it tomorrow to know what's going on because you didn't even live it. You weren't even paying attention. You were just locked in on your phone, making sure the angle was good.
Right.
You didn't experience anything. Just experience it. And if it's a good enough experience, you'll probably remember it for a long time.
It's like when you watch a funny movie and you laugh and you miss other jokes.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I don't see how it's like that.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of that, but I get what you're saying.
Right.
There goes Lou being Lou.
Hey.
Some people say cucumbers taste better pickled. I don't know.
Maybe.
But getting back to like my original point, it's funny. I would like to see a female's point of view because it's not like I go through Tinder and like look at dudes' profiles. So I wonder what girls, what are their gripes about the basic dude?
Well, I mean, you could always just ask him.
Yeah, that's true. They're probably just getting nothing but like dick pics. It's like, hey, abs, hey, dick pic.
Right.
Like dudes are freaking lame these days.
Or a dude grading his dick on his abs.
Oh.
Right. I mean, that's probably the double dipping, man. Like I don't know. Dudes are just as guilty as being just as lame as females these days, man.
Oh my God! So many of us should have our men cards revoked.
I agree. So it seems like we're running out of time here. So before we leave everybody, let's give our 3 can't misses for this week. I'm going to start off. My can't miss, people. Star Wars. We haven't had one in over 10 years. J.J. Abrams is a savior. He did it with Star Trek. Super 8 was awesome. There's no Jar Jar Binks. This movie's going to be awesome. Go see it. Hits theaters Friday, December 18th. Hopefully I get to see Darth Vader.
I actually hope you get to see Jar Jar.
God, I hate Jar Jar.
Nothing would be worse.
To piggyback off your can't miss is you guys look into the fan theory about Jar Jar secretly being a Sith Lord. And I kind of
saw
that is a real thing.
It was pretty funny, and it actually makes sense.
Back, and it makes so much sense. And I hope that it gets brought back. It would bring
It makes sense in the way that Gilligan on Gilligan's Island was Satan, and they were on hell. Gilligan ruined every chance that they had to get off, and all the other people were the 7 deadly sins.
my other 2.
Daddy's home.
I like that. That's. I'm gonna look into that. And if I think it's wrong, that's my debate for you next week. Cool. But my 2 are not actually new. The Man in the High Castle has a lot of people paying attention.
Oh,
and
I want to see that.
Suggest to people that
And
they
read it.
look into all of Philip K. Dick's other work. I mean, you've got films like Minority Report and Total Recall that are based off short stories. They're only 20 to 40 pages, so you don't have to. It doesn't require a lot of your time. And speaking of that, I know there are a lot of people out there that love the show Archer. I am one of them. You should look into Adam Reed's earlier work on Comedy Central, shows by the name of Frisky Dingo and C-Lab. They are only 11 minutes long, and you can find them on YouTube. Nice way to keep yourself entertained. Really funny guy. So that's all what I have.
Major Lazer cartoon. Deadpool, February 12th. Don't be a lame. Daddy's coming home, or Daddy's home. Christmas Day. That movie looks like it'll be funny. And The Night Before.
That actually is good. I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Yeah, it's really good. You'll see that too. That's good.
Cool. Well, all right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hopefully, you guys didn't hate us too much. You can come listen to us every week here at Bad Dinner Guests. I'm Dejan. This is Lou. That's Kevin. Peace. Till next week.
Live long and prospers.